All right. Well, it looks like this is our crew. And so I'm just going to roll through it right now, the details, which I'll start off from the top. A lot of the details that we're talking about are available in the links that we'll send in the chat as we talk about it. Um, but for the most part, you guys all know me and Phoebe. We oversee the high school ministry. We've been doing this together for now the last 5 years together, which is so cool. Yeah, I've been at Arbor Road for the last 10. But yeah, we are doing this mission trip specifically to Serbia as we partner with this organization called Josiah Venture, which their whole goal is to empower local people in Eastern and mid Europe to really like reach people with the gospel. And so the whole hope is that there would be people who are locally grown who continue to reach people in their own communities. But right now, most of those places are post-communist countries and just did not have a history of the church really there. And so Josiah Venture came in the 90s after really the Iron Curtain fell, and their whole hope was to be able to partner and train up people to be the church because nobody had done it for so long. And so with that, they typically will partner with American and some other Western European countries to help run English camps in communities in Eastern and Central Europe. And the goal of that is to, one, meet a need of the community. Most students in Europe have to take English as a class starting in like second grade. And so they get graded on their English. It's something that they learn. It's the language of the world. And so most students are learning English, and they, as like most students in most classes, a lot of them struggle with it. And so we get to come in as Americans who are pretty good at English, get to teach English to different levels of other teens who are looking to learn. But additionally, on the front end, they tell everyone that this is a Christian run camp. And so we also will help run with this local church a summer camp. So like we do Hume Lake or like we just did halftime, we go in and do summer camp alongside this other Serbian church for the teens locally there. And so in the past, in 2017, we first went to the Czech Republic. That was when Nick Raniere was the high school pastor, and he loved the trip. And so when I took over in 2018, I was skeptical, but went on it. I led the trip and then did 2 years of going to the Czech Republic running English camps. And I was blown away by the impact that we were able to have and the impact that it had on our students. And so our plan was to continue doing that every year to go to the Czech Republic, specifically Brno, which is the second largest city in Czech. And we were going to until 2020. We had a team selected and the trip got canceled in May once we realized that things were not going to be opening up again. So we've been kind of knocking on Josiah Venture's door for years, like just, hey, can we go back? What's it look like? We talked with the church in Czech, like, could we partner with you again? It just kind of got closed doors left and right. And so we came to them last summer, Josiah Venture, as an organization, and just said, hey, we'll go anywhere with you. We believe in your mission. We love the impact that you have. Where do you want to send us? And we finally got word in January that they were willing to send us to Serbia. And so I have some pictures. I'm going to see if I can drop it in the chat. I don't know if you had to do this, but I had to actually look up Serbia on a map. I'm being honest with that. Um, so Serbia is, it's titled Hungary, but it's actually Serbia. If you click and open it, you'll see it. You can find Serbia on that map, and then boomtown. We will be going to Lebanon. So if you open that second picture, you'll see Kosovo is on the south side of the country. Lebanon is like just northeast of Kosovo. So it's on the like southeastern area of Serbia that we will be partnering with a church there. That is a Protestant church in a place where it's about 85% Eastern Orthodox. And so their reach, their biggest reach is actually the Roma community in the south side, really in Kosovo and South Serbia, which another word for Roma that is less politically correct is gypsy communities. And so they partner with like a lot of organizations out there to reach people who just are on the move a lot. Um, and as I was talking with the pastor who helped run this camp last year, he said that yeah, there were legitimately 15 students at this camp that got baptized afterwards, which in Europe, that's insane. Like those are huge numbers that like God's on the move in like really cool ways in that place. And so with that, they're excited about continuing to reach those people. This is going to be the second time they've ever done this camp, and so the first time they've ever done a camp again for us to be able to go and partner with them with these English camps. They're really excited about our crew from Long Beach coming and partnering with them, especially because they would be having a few of us who have gone before. And so those are some like kind of a quick flyby of it. I want to lay out some of the details of our trip. So as you know, the trip is going to be July 10th through the 21st. The cost of the trip per person is $2,800. We'll get to details on that in a sec. We know that me, Phoebe, and Brody Austin are leading the trip. We're still finalizing which adults will be going on the trip, but we are the ones running it. And the goal is that there will be 4 adults who are going on this trip with 10 to 13 students joining us, which for our crew, that's actually a pretty small crew of students. But we were planning on taking 2 teams, but just got a closed door. And so we're only bringing 1. And so with that, it's going to be a pretty limited crew that's going. Like I said, we're partnering with the church in Lebanon, Serbia, and it's open to any high school student currently. So we're bringing people who are freshmen to seniors. So even in HSM, once we hit June, everybody promotes up a grade. We are bringing super seniors. So people who are seniors now are able to go on this trip, or at least apply to go on this trip. Yeah, Phoebe put in the doc in there that has some of the details that if you haven't looked at it, I would highly recommend reading that. But with that, our application is actually pretty a little lengthy, and that's intentional because this is a high commitment, high impact trip. This is not for the faint of heart because you are running a camp. So it's not like you're working all day together. It's a ton of fun, but it's going to be a lot of tiring work. And if you're going for a vacation, I think you're going to be disappointed. We'll see a lot of cool things there, but really we're there to serve a church and serve the community by running these camps. And so with that, with it being a high impact, high commitment, we have team trainings because one of the most valuable things that we're bringing is we are bringing English, and most of us have not taught English. And so we have to learn how to teach English to Serbian teens. And so we spend a lot of time just prepping our crew to make sure that we know how to teach it, that we're doing it well, that we're honoring the people who've asked us to come in there and do it to the best of our ability. And so really we're kind of making sure, like, are you serious about this? This application's a little lengthy, and hopefully it kind of weeds out a little bit of the immaturity that might come with somebody just wanting to go on a trip like this. The cost being $2,800 is steep. The cost for Czech back in 2019 was $2,200. And so in my mind, I genuinely mean this. I'm surprised that it's only 28 based off of like kind of how much inflation has impacted everything. Flights are a huge part of it. Flights are going to cost us around like $1,600 to $1,800 alone. And staying in country is actually only about $800, which is insane. Like that covers food, that covers all our travel, that covers all of our stay or lodging. And so like we will be using the rest of the money for our trainings and other resources that we'll be buying. If we need to buy like equipment, if we want to run a game, we're going to need to bring that with us. And so the cost is actually like, I'm surprised by it only being 28. But a huge value that we have in HSM is when we do short-term mission trips, we require fundraising. And the goal of that is not to be like encouraging people to just be annoying to like ask people for money, but we're actually truly trying to cast the net that, hey, some people go and some people send. And we truly believe that God calls us to ask people to help send us. And so we ask that people fundraise. And the way we do fundraising is it's team oriented. And so everyone's required to try and raise $2,800. But if anybody raises over that, it kind of overflows to the team. And so we've had in years past that people have fallen short, but other people have covered them. and we've never had to leave someone behind. But what we say is, if someone doesn't raise $2,800 and we don't make enough money by the trip, the first people to be cut will be those who haven't raised the money, if that makes sense. If we have to, we've never had to do that. But in the case if we had to cut someone, it would be someone who didn't raise the funds that were required for it. There'll probably be questions with that. We'll get to that at the end. But fundraising, it truly is like a fun adventure to go on together and not just kind of do on our own. And we train our students on how to do it well, and we will do some collective efforts at the same time. With that, some other things to consider that I want to be like forthright with. Number one, we will be getting back the Monday before Hume. And so like as a family, you're probably thinking that's a lot to like go on the trip for 11 days and then come right back from Hume. It will be tiring, but we will have that Tuesday through Saturday to kind of prepare for those who are going to camp. And so worth noting that. Number two, it is a big commitment. I mean, we have like 6 trainings together, and just know that like our students are busy, but we believe it's worthwhile. One, it builds our team up, and two, it will prepare us in country to make sure that we're ready to actually do what we're being asked to do. And then the third thing, if you search right now online, if you go to travel.state.gov, you will see that Serbia is a 2 out of 4 on the scale for safety. And primarily that's because of increased crime in the country, and that is the same in most of Eastern Europe. And so I'm being honest with that as well, that there's that piece of people will be concerned about the safety. From Josiah Venture, they have never had an issue with any of their groups in any of their countries, really, when it comes to safety. And so they're in, I think at this point, 19 countries, and they have had, I mean, they typically run like over 300 camps a summer, and they bring in teams for about 2/3 of those. They have never had any issues for safety in any of their countries. But you have to be, I want to be forthright. You're going to discover that if you do a search on Google and see it. And even most recently, there was like some civil unrest in oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the Belgrade, I think. What did you say, Phoebe?
Yeah, Belgrade. Yeah.
Belgrade, yes, in the capital. That happened about a month ago. That there was a peaceful protest that did not end up being peaceful. And so every time there's an event that happens in a country, travel.state.gov is going to make sure they put that in, because that's their responsibility to protect us as citizens of the United States. And so I've had conversations with Josiah Venture. They are not concerned whatsoever. And I trust them. So their role with our trip is really the middleman. They help us with all of our travel. They pick us up from the airport. They make sure that everything that we book is safe, and that we're not just like hiring the cheapest bus driver we could find. They vet everything. And so I trust my life with Josiah Venture, and I have before. And so, yeah, I'm excited about that. And then I was talking to a mom today who was just asking questions about what are you going to do in an emergency in this country? Once again, Josiah Venture has so many protocols that they are ready for these things, because they bring high schoolers to these countries all the time. So every country is going to have their emergency procedures, that they're ready in case there ever was civil unrest, or if there was even like a natural disaster that were to happen while we were out of the country. They're ready for it. And also, we're only about 3.5 hours from Belgrade. And so with that, like, we are ready to go to the embassy at any point if needed. And so making sure that you're aware that we're doing our research, we're prepared for this. And I'm not concerned. Which, Renee, I didn't know you were going to be on the call, but also there might be a moment that you speak up. Renee's gone on to the Czech Republic with us twice before, and so is familiar with Josiah Venture and kind of what that trip looks like, and has been our honorary dad on the trip. And so with that, though, those are all of my details. I kind of want to pass it off to Phoebe now, who's just going to kind of give the heart behind why we even do this, what we've seen the impact on our students as they come back. And so Phoebe, take it away.
Yeah, it's so cool. I've gotten to go on a few Mexico mission trips with our students, and then also a mission trip to Ecuador a few years back. And so gotten to see our students specifically experience leaving the country and doing mission trips. across in different parts of the world. And really, what I've seen is just an expanded understanding and view of how God works. It is so cool to see that God is on the move, not just in our city, not just in our state or our country, but across the world. And to meet people who are coming to know him as well, and especially people who are around our students' age, is so powerful for us to see that God is everywhere and he is in everything. I even was talking with a student today. I was at Biola, and it's a student who she's at Biola now, but she went to Ecuador, and just her passion for the nations and her excitement to study abroad next year and get to share the gospel in different parts of the world, and her excitement for that really being sparked on this mission trip to Ecuador. And so we just get to see students expand and see so much more of God's work. And then also to notice that he cares about them as well, and that he is after them and has chased them down, and that he is not hard to find. And so I have just loved getting to see God on the move. And something that happens on mission trips is they're pretty uncomfortable. And so it ends up being that students and leaders are experiencing different food, different climate, different languages, a different culture and norms. And it puts us in a place of discomfort. And a lot of times what happens is we come to the end of ourselves in that place where we realize, oh gosh, I have these weaknesses that I haven't addressed, or I'm really quick to be angry. And really sort of those layers that we're pretty good at putting on top of some of our brokenness, sin, or flaws back here at home, they kind of get uncovered on a mission trip. And it's so cool to walk with one another and experience the love of God in the midst of our own brokenness, and to see how God has pursued us and chased us down even when we're not faithful. And so I just have loved getting to watch not only the impact of our students getting to have on the world, but really just this experience of getting to be broken open in a really uncomfortable place and God meeting them right there. And so seeing transformation in the lives of students, and also in the lives of people that we get to meet with. And so I'm excited about this, and even feel like this is a trip that is even, yeah, just different and better than what we've done before, because what we're offering is something that is unique to our students, that they know English and they're willing to teach it, and they're teaching it to people who are their own age, where they get to build relationship with. And something they're offering is a relationship with God, that some of those students there just don't get to see, and certainly don't get to see among their peers as often. And so it feels exciting to embark on this type of mission trip and finally be at this place where we're getting to bring students into this.
Yeah, so with that, yeah, Renee, maybe anything else about Josiah Venture that you would want to tack on?
Yeah, they're great. I mean that I was a little concerned as far as the 2 weeks that we were going to be there, what we were going to be doing. And I've already talked to Brian. Brian's super excited to go. I did explain to him that 1 week of those 2 weeks is spent, like you said earlier, just training,
Mhm.
kind of training what's gonna happen, how they're gonna talk to the kids, translators, that made him feel comfortable that he gets to go into the camp already kind of prepared as far as what to do, because just going in there and not knowing what to do obviously is a little fear. But like you said, being out of the comfort zone is a really good place to kind of get to know yourself and to lean on God. And Tony and Phoebe, I can't, be more happier than have my kids in your guys' hands, obviously the Lord's hands, but to have you guys lead it is super exciting.
Yeah, I'll give you your check later.
And I figured out how to work the camera on this finally. First, I figured out how to unmute it, and then I figured out the camera. So okay.
Yeah, I'm glad you could physically join us. Yeah, I'll clarify that though, Renee. This trip is different than Czech because Czech was a 17-day trip, and this is an 11-day trip. So the camp that we're doing is 5 days, and there's only 2 full days of training. And that's just because every country has different leadership, and so Serbia, the way that they do it, and they found for their community is a shorter trip, which actually works for us with Hume coming up. I thought if it was 17 days, I'm like, we're gonna get back the first day of Hume, like it was like not gonna fit. But with it being shorter, it works a lot better. All right, passing it off to all of you. What questions do you have for me and Phoebe? How could we offset any fears or concerns that you have? Or maybe what would help you be excited about this trip?
If I could ask, is there any plans already for fundraising? And is there shirts or I don't know, something with fundraising? That was one thing uh, Jen was wanting to ask as far as fundraising for the trip. If there's any plans that you guys have as a group, or is it just individually like us?
That's a good question. Yeah, typically in years past, which I'm open to suggestions as well, but in years past, we've come up with like ideas together collectively. Shirts feel easy. I mean, you sell a $30 shirt that costs $8 to make, and you just make 22 bucks each, and people in our church tend to get behind it. And so there's this collective fundraising that happens in that way. I had this idea of doing a group yard sale as well, which sounds like a lot of work, but necessary to like make a little bit of extra money. But then primarily the way the majority of people will bring in money will be through support letters, which we coach what that looks like. We come up and like challenge every student. I probably for this one, for Mexico, we did 5 or 50 people. We'll probably challenge 100 different families or people to list out that you could ask even for the very least for $10 from. And we'll coach what that looks like. And everything that people give is tax deductible, which is a helpful incentive for people, even for people who maybe don't agree with the mission that we're going to do, can still come behind, that get excited about us teaching English to people in need. But yeah, it will be primarily through letters, and then there will be some group efforts. Yes, Mia.
We should do another car wash.
We should do another car wash. We have all the
That was
supplies
so
for a car wash, so we should definitely do it.
Yeah. We'd have like, I don't know, like even like 2 or 3 would be so fun.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I feel like what works best for the group is what the group is excited about too. And so because if me and Phoebe come up with a bunch of ideas and nobody cares about it, we end up eating at Panda Express by ourselves, like and getting 10% of 2 meals. And so I want to make sure whatever we do is agreed upon.
I think this trip is really exciting and so impactful and everything. My main concern is safety. And um, I thank you for the name of the organization. I feel like I need to do a little more research regarding the organization. And I just want to make sure that you can guarantee the safety of my child, and that's my number one. And I know that I need to trust in the Lord and all that, but I have discernment, and I need to also think about what's wise. And right now, I don't know that it's wise to send my 16-year-old to a foreign country without me. So,
Tracy, do you want to go?
No. I mean, I'm a teacher, so it would be wonderful, but you know what? It's hard. It's really, really hard. So
100%.
we're gonna pray. We're gonna pray about it, and we're gonna talk about it. And we're gonna do more research about it. Right now, her dad and I are both saying, no, we don't think this is a good idea for our 16-year-old daughter. But I'm gonna keep an open mind and open prayers and consider it and pray about it. So thank you.
Yeah, Tracy, I feel like I just want to like honor what you're saying. Like that is your responsibility as a mom to like advocate and love your daughter so well. And so, yeah, I mean, whenever going out of the country, it feels really concerning, especially like when you have extra layers of like, man, it says it's unsafe online. And so like when you add those layers, like, man, that's so tough. And I'm honest in these conversations. I can never guarantee someone's safety, like 100%. But you best believe I'm going to do everything in my power to do it, like to ensure, to know that there's a hospital within 10 minutes of where we're staying, to know the people that are going to be vetted, that the leaders of the other church have as well. And Josiah Venture has their things that they make sure that everyone jumps through the hoops of. And so I will never hold against any parent withholding their kid from an international mission trip. But I will do everything in my power to try to convince you. And so if there's anything that comes to mind, even if it's talking to parents who let their kids go before, maybe even like Renee's sons both went. So maybe it's even talking to some parents, some moms who let their daughters go before, and or something along those lines. I'm willing to get creative with you, but like I said, it is not something that I am going to ever be upset with someone from not allowing someone to go to. Yeah, you have to make sure you feel like you're making the wisest decision for Alyssa,
Yeah.
and so I
Yes,
understand.
thank you. And I want to make it clear that I trust you guys completely. It's just all those other things that can happen and that have happened
Mm-hmm.
that I really just, that's my concern. Just know that thank you. I appreciate your leadership and everything. And I know that you will do everything in your power to keep my child safe, but it's just those unknowns and
Yeah,
those things that can happen. So thank you.
yeah, of course.
I want to add to kind of what Tracy said. Just to kind of talk on that, just as a dad, I felt the same way on the first Czech trip. My son Justin, I think, wanted to go, but he wasn't sure. And I was like, there's no way you're going to go to Czech. No way. You have no business in Czech. Not going to happen. And then a month later, Nick Ranieri asked me to go. And I was like, I'm not going to go to Czech. There's no way I'm going to go. I don't even know these kids. And I just prayed about it. And I got to say, when the doors open and, it just was so easy to go financially and just work wise, it's just the doors open. And then I just faithfully went. And on that trip, I ended up falling in love with all these kids. And next thing you know, 7, 8 years later, I'm still here with HSM. It's a big step. And as parents, we don't want to expose our kids to any kind of danger whatsoever. My kids have gone on mission trips with me now. And there's just a lot of trust in God. And I can tell you one thing about Tony and Phoebe that just separates them from other people that I've known is they absolutely love your kids. They just love them and they lead them in that way towards God. And every trip that we've gone together, it's just been a blessing to get to know them more. But I don't want to give them too much of a commercial, but I would say, yeah, definitely pray about it and just see if those doors open. And if your daughter or son wants to go, if those doors open for them as well, if they feel called to go, then it's just going to be a really amazing trip. But yeah, safety is always a concern for
Yeah.
sure.
Thanks, Renee. Yeah, Tracy, I'll just add to. Well, actually, I think Alyssa, you already applied, right? I was going to suggest that, like, in the very least, you could always back out, and so I don't even need to say that. But yeah, I think we'll be praying for you guys as well, and totally confident with the decision you guys make. But yeah, if you have any questions, Tracy, like if they pop into your and your husband's head, like tomorrow, even you feel free to text me or Phoebe at any point, please, and we'll if we don't have an answer, we'll find it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So much. Is there a date that we have to make the decision by, or is there
So
kind of like a deadline?
applications are due end of February, and then we'll spend the first few weeks of March interviewing. And so the process would probably look like interviewing Alyssa still. And then we would hopefully have our team by like March 20th. And it's possible that we would extend an offer and she says no, or you guys say no. Like that's possible. And so we kind of anticipate that there might be a few that end up going through the whole process and not going still, choosing not to. And that's okay. We'll be ready for it. And especially knowing on the front end, that helps us to prepare well.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Kimberly, do you have any questions? It's sign language.
There you go.
There we go. Lost you for a second. How many adults are going?
4.
Four
Is,
adults.
yeah, 2 guys, 2 girls, 10 to 13 students.
10 to 13 students. And it's you and Phoebe and
Brody.
And Brody.
Brody. Okay.
And then that other female role right now is the goal is for it to be a mom. But in my experience, moms are hard to convince to go on mission trips because that means being away from the rest of your kids. But we have a few other young adults who would fill that role, and that we've like considered. But our priority is going to be to have someone older than me. That's the goal. And so, um, but there's the possibility that I would be the oldest, which I am 32 years old, which I feel like it doesn't matter how old I am, people still say I'm young. And so, is 32 young? Yes.
Very,
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
very.
It is to me.
Yeah.
But you're a wise 30, 32. What you're a wise 32.
I receive that. It feels like it should be on a birthday card right there.
Yes, yes.
Your wise 32.
And I just, I can't say enough good things about you guys, and I trust you implicitly with my kids. So they've both been to Mexico. Mia went to Ecuador.
Gang, gang. It was fun.
It's great.
Yeah. This seems like a really neat opportunity.
Mhm.
So thank you for putting this trip together. Sounds amazing.
Yeah, there's the possibility of us going back next year. We're not going to say that we are until we do it, because Serbia will be a different experience than Czech. But I think that's also something to plant in the back of our minds of like, if not this year, potentially next year. We want to be bought in on it, and we do need to figure out like that piece of bringing 10 to 13 of our group is really tiny. And so it feels like we're kind of communicating this is just for the elite, which is not true. Yeah, that will be in the works in the future. But with that, even Tracy, as you're considering, maybe it's like holding off a year, but may or may not happen next year too. So, all right. Well, I'm watching my little clock say, because I don't pay for Zoom, 3.5 minutes. Phoebe, is there anything you wanted to add?
I don't think so. Just very exciting. I was skiing with my family last week in Utah and happened to get to know this guy throughout the week, Tommy, who's like in his 50s, 60s. He was a ski instructor and he's from Serbia. And he was telling me everything about Serbia. He'll be in Belgrade when we're in Lebanon. And so he was telling me everything he knew about Lebanon and just feels like a really cool place. So I'm excited, but yeah, feels exciting to be embarking on this. And if you guys hear of other parents or students who have questions, you guys can be people who answer or people who just redirect to us. And so let us know if you're hearing any murmurings of there's more questions about this or that I don't know the answer to. You guys might be people that other people are going to, but yeah, keep us in the loop if you need help on answering anything along the way.
Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, with that, let me pray for us, and then my prayer will beat the time. I know it, but then we'll close this down. God, thank you for tonight that you have given us life and life abundant. And Lord, I just pray that as we just prepare for this trip with high schoolers from Long Beach, California, to go to Eastern Europe, to go to Serbia. Lord, I pray that you would prepare our hearts and that you would prepare the right students to be a part of this trip. And Lord, I just pray, even Renee was saying, the right doors would open for people to walk through and doors would close for those who shouldn't. And Lord, that you would just lead us every step of the way. And Lord, I pray that great work would be had for your kingdom through a partnership with a church all the way on the other side of the world. Lord, your kingdom is global. It's not just in the United States of America. And so, Lord, would you just give us a heart for your heart, even the people that you love beyond us. And so lead our way and get all the glory. We love you. Praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Mhm.